Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn. And we're back out here in this little section of woods that I'm doing some silviculture treatment to. We had been sort of over there on the left-hand side of this rock wall, which you can maybe make out right there. That area was getting muddy. I was dragging stuff out that way. You can see the piles there. That's all firewood. But we have a pretty stiff southern breeze today, and what I plan to take down are some more of those larger poplar which sort of stand above everything else. So I think for me to fight against the wind might not be the best idea, but I think it'll work out okay. So we are facing south now, so the wind is sort of blowing towards us, and what I'd like to take down, you can see the tops of them up there. It might even be, you can almost see the buds starting to swell. I think poplar is one of the first species to sort of begin its spring adventure compared to all the other deciduous trees. So I'll go in there, we'll do a lay of the land, and then start cutting down some trees. Well, here we are. I spent probably 45 minutes just cleaning up junk. Took some gray birch down, took some fir down that was suppressed, was not going to make much. I did cut a couple of these stems off the cedar. Mentioned this in previous videos, but the best case scenario is to have a single stem per root ball. This has two decent ones. This one here is obviously bigger, but it does have a fork up there, and this one has a bend. So, and to do it over time, gradually, not cut everything at once. As I understand the silviculture and the sort of the tree biology is that northern or eastern white cedar is sensitive to shock, significant changes all at once, which includes cutting a lot of stems off. So I just cut two off. There's the pile of needles. It might be too late in the season for deer to feast on this, but if the ground was still snow covered, they would probably be attracted to this in a matter of a couple days. So there's a lot more visibility down here, just taking out a little bit of brush and stuff. So the tractor's there, and I'm going to contradict myself already so early in this video. As I mentioned, my intent with the wind was to sort of fell things this way. But if you look at this tree, it has a significant lean that way. So in this particular case, I think the lean is going to overcome any influence of the wind. And the wind is sort of gusty. Right now it's not blowing. You can hear some over there. But I do have wedges. I really don't think I'm going to need the help. I've got plenty of lean. And what I think I'm going to do is aim for that fir tree, because that's going to hopefully sort of split a little bunch of decent looking fir on that side, as well as a bit taller ones here on this side. And that'll allow me to drag it out butt first, which I prefer. Dragging it out butt first, most of the time, branches sort of curl upward. So if you drag it butt first, then those branches, ones that I either don't see or can't get to, like they're on the ground that I don't cut off before I drag it out, they're more likely to sort of bend and just sort of be pulled through. If you pull them top first, they'll sort of catch, almost like a fish hook, and either stall my winch or drag whatever it catches to out with it instead of just sort of bypass it. So I do see that gray birch right there, which is sort of a rainbow. I did not see that one. I'm going to cut that one down first, and then we'll aim this tree for basically right there. Well, that was a close call because I did not want to hit that tree. It looks like the top is intact. I don't know how, but I wanted to miss those two trees, and If I had to take out any, it'd be those sort of smaller, spindly trees. But you can see over there is the area we had been working in with all that slash on the ground. So again, I spent a fair amount of time just taking down some stuff, mostly gray birch. If you remember a video or two ago, taking blowdowns down. This was one of them. Actually, this is one that broke off. It didn't blow over. It didn't uproot. And that dead tree, which blew over several weeks ago. So that's where that poplar landed on top just a second ago. I'll cut all that stuff up later. So really, I think there's 4 trees, and that'll pretty much be it. There's these 3 aspen, quaking aspen, or what we call poplar right here, 1, 2, 3. And then this red maple. I'm not sure if I'm just going to take the squiggly one down to the left and maybe leave that one because it looks like a decent log, or just take them both down. But again, I think I'm going to go against the wind. Really, I guess I don't think it's much of a big deal, particularly with the experience we had with that first one. So you can see here that is basically south. And you can see most of the crown is on the south. The stem itself is more or less straight, but the crown, the larger branches are heading that way. So that sort of due south is probably where the wind is coming from. I'm going to head that way just a bit, probably, land it right on top of that dead tree, which might provide some cushion for some of those smaller firs beyond it. Less likely to be damaged. All right, this one's cut up, limbed, I mean. I have a 16.5-foot log for lumber for me, and then I think 2 firewood logs beyond it. So I'll drag that out head first that way with my tractor there so that's on the road. Actually, when I said there were 3 trees left, I guess I missed that sort of tall, skinny one. That's also a poplar. Well, plus the red maple, so I guess we still have just going to be a constant 4 trees left, no matter what. So, turning our attention to these 2, we still have the stiff breeze, which you probably can hear, heading that way. This one has a crown that wants to go that way, and that's the way I'd like to take it. So again, I'm going to sort of defy the wind, although I'm not going against the wind, just sort of sideways to it. This little tree here will probably be ruined, but you can see it has a little bit of a jog there on the top. So that's a better tree. That's an even better tree. So if I can avoid those taller ones on left and right, then I'll be good. Actually, I'm going to take that tree down ahead of time, take this brush down. Then we'll get this guy to fall, hopefully the way I want it to. There it is, similar, or actually the same as the log number 2. which is one 16.5 foot for lumber and then 2 firewood logs. Log number 1, the first one we cut's there. Second one there. And a full 360 right there. So this is the next one. This one, I guess if it has any lean, unfortunately, it's towards the north, which is the prevailing wind. But I would really like to drop it right on top of that one. The branches here are a bit lower and more numerous, so there is more of a chance of doing some damage. That one, the crown didn't start until further up. Perhaps you can see there some scraping along that large fir, which is fine. It didn't really touch those younger fir left and right that I was more concerned about. Well, worst case is I try to fell it that way and the wind pushes it that way. Not the end of the world. The only thing is the crown would damage probably 8 or 10 promising young fir trees right there. So I'd like to avoid that if possible. All right, they say they shouldn't press your luck, but I'm gonna press my luck and try to get this one to go that way again. Well, that's too bad. I did not press record. Anyhow, it went down right there. Looks like I did clip the very top of that tree. So it'll end up with multiple tops as it grows. I did notice right here, it's got a little bit of a hitch right there in the stem as well. Well, that's too bad. You got to miss that. Anyhow, it wasn't a whole lot different than that one. All right, cut it up. Probably same thing. I'll get one saw log, a couple firewood logs. All right, that one's taken care of. I only ended up getting one firewood log at the end because the top was just too curvy. Non-linear pieces of wood. So no sense trying to mess with that if I don't need to. So I think we are down to 2 at least major trees. That tall skinny poplar, and then I got to figure out what to do with this maple. If I'm just going to take one stem down, the curly Q one, or take them both down. So I'll ponder that, and I will show you the top of that tree up there. I sort of came across it as I was limbing. So there's the cut for the log, saw log. And the end of the firewood. Yeah, it just became really, big pieces, but they're all turny, twisty, curvy. This is the top. It's too bad. It was a nice growing tree. But as you can probably see better that little jog right there. So it was not a perfect tree, but that one saved, which is the other one I was concerned about. All right, so we'll do a better review of this area when we're done, because this really should finish this particular area up. This is the last of the poplars that I'm going to take down here. It's the tall, skinny one. So I had a couple choices, I think, that reasonable choices. One is I can drop it out there, but the issue there is I'd probably never get it to go through those crowns easily. I think I am going to take this tree down, as well as some of those other larger firs that I mentioned, I think, the previous video. But I think that'll be a different video, because that's more harvesting softwood than it is silviculture. Because I'm taking this tree down just because you can see the spot there. The top is thin, it's got witch's broom. So I guess it's not really part of the silviculture story that I was trying to tell or demonstrate here in this area, as much as taking down these trees, which are sort of weeds, if you will, in the way of the targeted crop. The other way to drop it then is towards my tractor. So even though it's tall, I don't think it'll quite reach my tractor. I guess we'll see. So what I'd like to do, because the stem is pretty tall before the crown and any branches, so I'd like to drop the stem. May take out that little tree right there, but I want to not damage that one nor that one. So if I can sort of aim almost right for my tractor, then that would be great. So orientation wise, this one here I think is tree number 2 that we took down. I guess I'm sort of lost track here. I think that's number 2, 3 and 4 over there, and number 1 is out there towards that field. So where the tractor is a road that goes left and right. I have a road further down that way that goes 90 degrees to the tractor. And then we have the sort of the clearing, and then the rock wall, and then the field where the logs are staged that way. So I ended up actually getting 4 firewood logs out of that, so it's 60, I think it's 64 feet long. And the tip of it was, I don't think it was even within 20 feet of the tractor, so I was plenty safe there. I did end up damaging that little tree that I pointed out. So the very last tree, as far as silviculture type cutting goes, is this red maple. And what I've decided is I'm just going to take down that stem to the right, because I figured if I ever want to take the other one down in the future, I can do that. If I take them both down, I want to put one back up. That's significantly more difficult. So I'll figure out where to fall this thing. The obvious lean is that way, but I have a nice fir there I don't want to damage, and I can't do much unless I cut way up here, as far as, because what I was looking at again towards my tractor is probably the best location as far as minimizing collateral damage. I could try to squeeze it through this little opening here. That's probably the best bet as far as the existing lean of the tree goes, but it makes extracting it significantly more difficult. Not impossible, just more difficult. All right, well, I'll ponder this a bit and we'll come back. Well, after pondering it a bit, I'm going to contradict myself. Meaning I didn't see a good way to fell just this stem the way I wanted to. Primarily because of this, you know, to sort of have free rein in which direction I have to cut it way up here, which I'm not going to do. So the only, and the way I want to drop it is that way, because that's the least amount of trees in the way. Over that way, not only do I have these in the foreground here, but I think I damage a lot of those taller ones, you know, with those numerous branches up there, because it's going to go well into probably just beyond that black cherry tree right there. And the only way to drop it that way is to drop them both at one time. So I've got my notch cut. You can see the 2 separate stems, which can be a little bit tricky because sort of on the way down, oftentimes they'll separate and at times go their own separate way. Hopefully I'll leave enough meat. There should be enough meat there on each of those stems separately to guide them until they hit. So I realize I may damage that one, but that's probably would come down in the near future anyhow. It's got the witch's broom. It's not the best tree, but it is sort of an older tree, a taller tree, to provide, you know, sort of that diversity here in this tiny little area. The one just beyond it I likely will damage as well. It could be I take out these. I'm going to try to avoid at least that one. Certainly I'm not going to touch these, I'm pretty sure of that. Well, let's see how close we can come to the tractor without hitting it. Well, it didn't go exactly as planned, although I did save that little tree, but that was a casualty. Yeah, I'm still well away from the tractor, but I guess that's the best I could hope for. I don't know if my aim was off a little bit. You know, basically, yeah, I think my aim was off a little bit. I should have aimed just a little bit more to the left. In any event, it's done. All right, I'll limb this up, and then the next challenge is how do I get all these roadside? So those are the last two trees we just cut, the red maple and that tall skinny poplar. So now I'm going to move the tractor down here and pull out this one probably right from here and take those beech down that are in the way. Alright, so I think that was tree number 2. These are the last ones. So over there you might be able to just barely see it. I'll go down the road here a bit and drag, which I think are logs or trees 3 and 4. And we'll get the first one last, which will be in the other field. Well, I think that's the last of it. I pulled these out a bit more to make sure that I'm more likely to see them here on the edge of the field rather than tucked back in there where I'm. History has shown that I'm likely to ignore, forget, overlook. Well, as I had mentioned, that probably will do it for at least the major stuff. I am going to take down some softwoods, probably those 3 there, the twin, and then the one there to the right, and then one that was blown down. So I'll take those down as a separate video, but as far as the silviculture in this particular area, to sort of encourage the growth of eastern or northern white cedar, that's pretty much done. There's always going to be some maintenance, but we'll do a post-mortem. We'll sort of walk around and see what the area looks like now. So if you stay tuned, I'll also do a flyover with the drone so we can see it from the air. And the last bit will be a time lapse of this entire period taken from actually a vantage point over there where that hunting shack is, to just see the skyline, how it's changed over the time that we've been out here. So this is the post-mortem of this little area here that we've been working in, I guess, most of the winter. I think I first started at the beginning of February. So as I record this is April 18th. And we're sort of here where we ended. So this is a lot of the slash, coarse woody debris, junk, whatever you want to call it. Left from a lot of these poplar that we cut down. So some of them we dropped this way, some of them we dropped that way. So the silviculture aspect of this with this woody debris is to let this stuff rot, which is the best sort of seeding germination material for the white cedar, which I'm looking to enhance the stand here, increase its population, and at least in this particular area, just a handful of actual cedar trees to promote their further growth. So here's one here, which is a nice one, relatively straight. A lot of the cedar I have you know, double tops, some sort of a fork in the stem, but that one's nice. Another one right over there, the other side of the dog. So as we sort of meander through this, there's going to be a lot. Hopefully we'll see a fair amount of sun hitting the ground. There's not a lot of deciduous trees left compared to what there were. So when the leaves come on, you know, some of the ground will be covered with shade, which is not covered now, but a lot of it really will just be as it is now. Actually, there's a couple there I sort of missed. So, yeah, like I said, your work is never really done, because at least for me, this is typical. I'll think I'm all done, and then voila, something will pop up that sort of just appeared. So there are some areas here where I think probably from the commercial logging, although right here I don't see any old stumps. But there's a lot of young growth that's probably 15 to 20 years old, which sort of roughly matches the time frame of the commercial cut. So whether it was me or someone else, you can see that little bit there was cut. So I might have spent some time in here years ago, I just don't remember. So right here, one of the few deciduous trees I'll leave on purpose, which is a decent looking black cherry. But most of what I'm leaving here is going to be softwood, just because that's what there is. So a lot of this really could use some thinning. Like for instance, you know, this is a nice fast growing tree. This one is. So I would take out these little ones here between it, you know, and just leave that. Being too aggressive with that will allow the bottom branches to stay live for a long time. So there's danger. Okay, here's an old stump. So this stump here was done with commercial cutting. This is one that I did, I think, early on. So I did drop some across the road there. You can see the tops. I do occasionally, I'll get a white pine like this one, which is a really nice specimen. So the white pine, not only does the shade allow more clear wood because it'll cause the bottom branches to die off eventually, but with white pine and the white pine weevil, which is an insect, having some partial shade, which this will be decent. There's quite a bit of open area right up top, but right around it there's a little bit of shade. And what that does is that minimizes the diameter of that leading stem, and it's, for whatever reason, it's the thicker, the larger diameter stems that are the result of seeing a lot of light that the white pine weevil is attracted to. So if we can starve this for light until it's, say, 10 to 20 feet tall, when I think most of the risk of white pine weevil is gone, then, you know, opening it up to sort of unlimited light doesn't have the bad effect of the insect. Logs we dragged out. So I think this will also sort of mark the end of logging season. So like those a couple popple I saw over there, we'll talk maybe if I make my way around back to over where we started this post-mortem. There are some fir trees I want to take down. So I still will do that. I'll probably record taking the fir down because that might be exciting. But some of the other cleanup stuff that I'll do, I won't. There's still some other things that I will do, primarily before the foliage comes and the heat and the bugs all come, which make working in the woods much less fun than it is now. Some of the stuff that I'll do, and I may record some of it because it might be of interest, which is areas where I can do some silviculture work, take down some junk trees that don't have any value at all, nothing for saw logs, nothing for firewood. Really just cut that stuff down, deaden it, let it lay on the ground. Just like weeding the garden, and then allow whatever the target crop is for growth to have sort of a less interrupted light and nutrients. Another black cherry. Someday should be a nice log. So some of these little guys here, hopefully with more light available to them now, will really start to take off. And probably in another 5 or 10 years, I may wander through here and look for cedar seedlings. So another video I plan to make is I do have some tree tubes, because I do have in other areas of my property, I have cedar, which is probably anywhere from, say, 8 inches to a couple feet tall. Oh, this looks new. New blowdown. It's a windy day today. In the woods here, it's not so bad, but you get up there, more windy. So with those small cedar saplings, I do have these tree tubes, and I want to protect those. One of the most challenging things about cedar silviculture is the deer browse, and the deer, which they'll eat the cedar, and if they see a small cedar sapling that's sort of less than 6 feet, I guess that's sort of the cutoff, less than 6 feet is going to be susceptible to deer browse. They'll eat it, and if the tree is only 6 feet or less tall, it could kill it, completely defoliate it. This one must have been here. I just don't remember, because, you know, those branches are trimmed. Okay, I'm losing my mind, losing my memory. What's funny is that you'll see this video and me coming across this tree will have been less than 2 minutes ago, but for me it's like a couple weeks. I guess that's the limitation of my memory. So these I could take or leave. These are beech trees. They never really grow to be much value because of the beech bark disease, which doesn't impact them until they get later in life. But they're very shade tolerant, so they can grow like weeds in the understory and sort of suffocate other things. There's more of our handiwork over there. Again, you see a lot more green, a lot more sunlight for these, again, probably 15-year-old fir trees. I'm guessing almost all of these trees, except for the real small ones, you know, like this that may only be 8 or 10 years old, are probably about the same age. They're just different sizes, different heights, because they've had different amount of light over the years. This one you can see, that's a good example. So most of the years here, some of these dead whorls, you know, I don't think it grew any more than 2 inches a year in height. And I don't recall what happened here in the last couple of years. You know, and it was growing a little bit in diameter, so it's fat down here, and then it gets skinny because it started growing. Look at this last year here, it was probably 10 inches. I'm looking around here for light. I mean, that's a fresh cut. It could have been something died too, to provide light instead of a tree falling or being cut down. That's probably from commercial cut, that stump right there. So yeah, it's just sort of forest regeneration. It's going to happen on its own, but we can sort of steer it in a direction that is beneficial to us for whatever our objectives are, whether it be wildlife, economic, forest diversity, whatever. We can steer it in the direction we want and sort of hasten its arrival to that point rather than let Mother Nature take its course. Sometimes it's going to end up in the same endpoint, whether it's Mother Nature or we do silviculture. It just may take a lot longer. But this area here, this little clump of trees, they're all growing nicely. They all have a fair amount of light, but it's probably, again, a good time to say take every other one. You know, take that bunch of maybe 12 trees or 18 trees and cut them in half so that the ones that are remaining to have that much more light, less competition. So this is a red maple I decided to leave just because it's a relatively straight stem. And I do want a little bit of diversity. You know, I don't want this to be a complete stand of just cedar. There's a white ash, which we do have emerald ash borer in the town I live in, but it hasn't impacted any of the trees on my property that I've been able to see. And so there's the area that we started over there, so we have sort of made a circle. So a couple more cedar right here. This is the one I talked about. I think it was in this video. This video's gone on for a while now as far as real-time recording. I took 2 stems there. Might have been in a previous video. So at some point later, I think I talked about taking this stem here to the left and then leaving this single stem. So another clump of trees. And that was sort of the treatment, the silviculture treatment that was done with a commercial cut was patch cuts, where they take an area of, you know, maybe 50 feet in diameter, 100 feet in diameter, and clear cut it just to provide an area for this to happen. So you get sort of clumps of new regrowth. And in this case, it's going to be fir. Occasionally there's some spruce here, which would be more beneficial than fir, to provide an uneven age stand. So my entire property was all even aged. Everything is about 60 years old at the time of the commercial cut. You know, and now we have sort of diversity of stuff that's 70 years old and stuff that's 10 years old. And keep doing that over the years, then you'll have a forest that, you know, has ages, significant population of ages, you know, in 10-year increments up to say 100, 200 years old. The wind's really whipping these. So it wouldn't surprise me, some of these trees we left, the triplet from many videos ago where I got a poplar hung up there. You can see the wind really whipping these trees. It wouldn't surprise me if some of these get blown down now that they don't have the protection that they did. It won't be all the trees, but it could be a handful. This is a different tree, although it looks almost the same. Real slow growth, slow growth, slow growth, and then bam. This last year really took off. So it's another black cherry. You know, that fir on the other side of it, take it or leave it. It's really not doing any harm right now. But it can probably grow a bit bigger, you know, a bit more value in a saw log before it gets cut. This one here at some point had a double top. Looks like it died on its own because there's no indication that I cut it. But the stem that remained has grown well the last couple of years. We're working our way back over to where those two red maples were clumps that I reduced down to a single stem. Ooh, there's some raspberry. So one thing that might seem contradictory that I think I've mentioned in earlier videos, which is opening up the area too much is a bad thing. I've sort of alluded to it here. But in this case here, since there already is a fair amount of regeneration, there's already, you know, even seedlings, you know, that are probably less than 5 years old, that opening the area up is not going to create something where seedlings can't germinate because they already have. So I don't think there's much of an issue with, you know, weeds coming in or, you know, raspberry bushes coming and sort of eliminating the possibility of regeneration. It may stifle it for a short period of time, but eventually these fir, you know, that are between 0 and 15 years old will eventually take over. They'll shade those things that would otherwise, you know, prohibit germination and stuff from growing underneath it. So that's why I wasn't too concerned about leaving too much in the way of open areas. Just so much, you know, growth here that's just sort of waiting to take off with a little bit more light. So there's one of those red maples. Although I meant to come back here with my bigger bar chainsaw and sort of clean up this stump here. Again, I think I mentioned this, I only do it really for aesthetics. I'm not sure that there's really any biological benefit, but it just looked nicer if this was all cut down and a lot of this stuff was gone. This one I think I did because that stump is not 15 years old, it's less than 15 years old. You see the buds are coming out on whatever these are. I think these are like I think the speckled alder, I think what these are. This I think either is black cherry or maybe a birch, but I'm not good enough at tree identification to understand that. This is a dead elm, or the remnants of a dead elm. This is the remains of a tree I cut down last year. It was a pasture spruce, which I don't think I got a log out of it. I think it was all rotted, so I just cut it up and laid it. So this has only been here a year. Along with all this debris here with the leaves. And here's the other red maple that I did sort of trim these up a little bit better. So another cedar, which hopefully will be a parent to some regeneration now that we've provided a bit more woody debris for the seeds to germinate in. Another cedar right there. All right, so I'm going to make my way back over to where we started, which is in that direction, and we'll finish up this post-mortem. So as I'm making my way back over to there again, yeah, you come across these things. And this is a white pine, so many more of these that I know I have somewhere that I just missed, because it's hard to cover. There's another white pine right there. The parent to that, I'm guessing, is that tree right there, because it's really sort of the only one in this neck of the woods. There is one over there, but it's further away. So it's nice to see that white pine. So during the course of logging, you saw a lot of trees being damaged, either by fallen trees or when I skidded them out. I know there were some here like those, which this one that's bent over may recover. This one here that's scratched up will not recover. But as you can see, you know, this needs thinning anyhow. So there's really no downside to taking out a lot of these trees. There's almost upside only, because the ones that are left will have that much more light. So there's still some trees that at some point, maybe in the next couple of years, you know, this one has witch's broom, which is in my management plan to remove. And you can see the top is not as full as some of the other ones. There's a pasture spruce to the left. If I need more pasture spruce lumber, I will probably take that one down, but it's not commercially viable. Sawmills will not buy pasture spruce because of the big knots. This was an uprooted tree earlier in the video. When the ground thawed, it sort of fell back down on its own. So this tree here was one I was going to take down, but it sort of broke off. It didn't uproot, so you can see the standing stem right there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to have for logs, if anything, because of where it broke. But I was going to take that one down anyhow. I think I'm going to take down these two. And I think it was that. Maybe that one I was going to take down. I think that one had a some sort of an animal, varmint or a bird hole in the bottom, which indicates rot. I'll take that one down probably at the same time. That was a poplar I think I would decided to leave for the time being, because it's sort of out in the open all by itself. It's not interrupting much in the way of shade. So these are sizable trees as far as fir goes, probably about as big as they get in my area. That might be 14 inches, you know, breast height in diameter. The witch's broom. And they're just sort of at the, this is probably they germinated maybe even before this area, which was pasture land, was abandoned. But this tree here, right next to it, ready to take over. Up there you can see there's probably at least 18 inches of growth the last couple of years. But back when it started, the growth was 4 inches, maybe 10, 8, 8. So that tree will take the place of these. There's other trees over there. There's a couple here. There's just all kinds of the fir. If I had a little bit more red spruce, I'd be a lot happier, but I'm fine with how this looks. That one there I was going to take down as well. You can see the rust-colored needles. That tree is not going to come back to life. And here we are. So there's a pile of saw logs in this particular field and firewood logs over here. So that really will wrap it up for this, I guess, a couple months worth of silviculture in this area. You know, I have some tidying up. I will come back and share the experience of taking these fir trees down when the ground dries up a little bit. So the last thing we'll do to finish this video up is a drone shot to see what this area looks like from the sky. So I hope you stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. So this is an overhead shot. It's amazing how different it looks from the overhead as it does on the ground. But basically the mid-frame there is sort of the area we were working in. Sort of the lower left, sort of at the bottom of the screen, you see sort of that gray area. That's where that real concentrated area of slash was, all the tops from those poplar trees. So the deciduous tree leaves have not come out yet, so basically a lot of the bare ground is looking through the branches of the deciduous or the hardwood trees, and all we see now are the evergreens. You can see the road there to the right. That's one of the boundaries that define the area that we were working in. Another road here to the top just coming in to the left and right. See it right there. That was another boundary. So the other thing I realized looking at this, you can see some logs there just going down to the bottom, is how small this area looks, or how small it is compared to the rest of the land surrounding it. So this is looking back from the northern field to the south, and then to the right is where most of the logs I dragged to are still located there, and we'll see that. I guess that would be the field to the west. So from the top, it looks like there's a lot of open area. I don't think it's quite as open as it looks from the top when you're down there, because obviously you get more of the effect of the smaller trees when you're sort of down in and amongst them. Is that slash area there with the gray. So again, the center of the screen there is sort of the area that we were working in. You can just barely see the logs going out of sight there from the top of the screen. That would be the western field. So there are two piles up there. The softwood logs are to the right, and the firewood logs are to the left. We'll see them again. So I'll pan back up after we sort of do a quick turnaround. You can see them right there. Quick turnaround, go down, get one last look, sort of from ground level, and then I'll head back up, turn around, do a 180, and then sort of show you where the house is, where I live relative to the area that I've been working at. It's rather convenient, and I just have an hour or two. It's not a big deal just to go out back and putter around for a bit and then head back to the house. Not like up to the woodlot where it takes me 15 or 20 minutes just to get there. That brown area right in the center is that muddy area that I've sort of stayed away from during the latter part of harvesting trees. So that big fir, there are two of them. They're right there in the center. I'm going to take those down. There's the road there to the right. Now I'm going to sort of turn around and head back to the west so you can see the log piles, and then the house straight ahead. There's another section of this land that we're going over now is sort of non-productive, although some stuff is starting to grow, so I'll probably do some just sort of basic thinning there. There's really nothing much of value to take out in that area. So thanks again. Hope to see you on the next video.